The smirks started the moment she walked onto the Fort Benning sniper range. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper, ghost to the few who knew her record, adjusted her standard-issue cap lower as the whispers followed her like shadows. "They're really letting anyone qualify these days, huh?" The comment, purposely loud enough for her to hear, came from Captain Miller, his Ranger tab prominently displayed on his shoulder. "She won't make it past the 500-yard targets." Another voice, another dismissal. Sarah said nothing. The Georgia sun beat down on the range as she quietly selected a Remington MSR from the rack, her movements deliberate, almost hesitant, exactly as planned. The Special Operations Qualification course had drawn the best marksmen from across all branches, 28 men. And her, Major Reynolds, the lead instructor, barely glanced at her paperwork. "First time at advanced qualifications, Lieutenant?" "Yes, sir." Exactly as she had arranged it after returning from her classified deployment. "Ladies first," Captain Miller called out as they lined up at the 500-yard station. "Though I doubt you'll be able to hit the broad side of a barn from here." The first shot went wide, exactly as planned. "Told you," Miller said. "Women don't have the upper body strength or spatial awareness for this kind of precision." Her father's words echoed in her mind. "Sometimes, Sar, the best advantage is being underestimated. Real snipers earn their title at this distance." Sarah's shot this time clipped the edge of the 10 ring, better than expected from a novice. A few competitors glanced her way with renewed interest. For the first time, doubt crept in. Could she maintain the charade? The stakes were too high to fail now. This wasn't just about proving these men wrong. It was about honoring the teammates she'd lost in Kandahar, about finishing what they'd started. She closed her eyes briefly, remembering Captain Diana Marsh's final words to her. "Don't let them win, Ghost. Not the enemy, not the doubters, not any of them." Her breathing pattern changed. 3 seconds in, hold for 2, 3 seconds out. The rhythm of an experienced marksman. Adjusting for windage, 11 MEPs sustained, gusting to 15, she muttered, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. Captain Miller exchanged glances with Major Reynolds. When Sarah fired, her bullet struck dead center. "Perfect shot." "Lucky," someone muttered. Her second shot grouped perfectly with the first. The third made a single enlarged hole in the center of the target. Silence fell across the line. "Lieutenant Cooper," Major Reynolds approached slowly. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" The CIA's Special Activities Center had taught her the rest. Major Reynolds studied her face, searching for deception. 3 consecutive bullseyes at 1,500 yards isn't farm training. The nervous energy was palpable as competitors prepared for the 2,000-yard station. Conversations hushed when Sarah approached. The earlier mockery had evaporated like morning dew under the Georgia sun. "Where did you say you were stationed before this, Cooper?" Captain Miller asked, his tone carefully neutral. "Fort Drum, sir. Just regular infantry support." The lie came easily. Her actual deployments remained classified, ghost operations that officially never happened. "Bullshit," whispered Sergeant Diaz to his buddy. "I've got a cousin at Drum. Never heard of any female sniper training there." Her setup was flawless, bipod adjusted to the millimeter, cheek weld perfect, body angled precisely to absorb recoil. 3 shots, 3 bullseyes. Tighter grouping than any competitor so far. Captain Miller's face flushed red. "This is some kind of setup, right? Some kind of joke?" Some looked angry, others confused. A few, a very few, looked impressed. Major Reynolds stepped between them. "Save it for the shooting, Captain." He turned to Sarah. "Wherever you learn to shoot, Lieutenant, it's clearly working for you. Command has just radioed in a modification to today's qualification. 2,500 yards in reduced visibility with a time constraint? Impossible for all but the most elite." "This isn't standard protocol," Captain Miller objected, eyes darting toward Sarah. "Is this coming from upstairs?" And 30 seconds per shot left no room for the methodical process she'd trained for. Sergeant Diaz smiled coldly. "Guess luck won't cut it now, Lieutenant." Sarah touched the hidden patch under her shirt, the one from Task Force Spectre, a unit that officially didn't exist. A team that had given her more live-fire experience in 8 months than most snipers got in a decade. The smoke generators roared to life, thick white plumes beginning to drift across the range. Time to stop playing. Esse bloco ficou bom para você? Posso seguir para o próximo? As competitors prepared for the modified challenge, Sarah found herself alone behind the ammunition shed, hands trembling slightly. The memories crashed through her carefully constructed walls. Kandahar, the Taliban ambush, Captain Marsh bleeding out despite Sarah's desperate attempts to stop it. "You're the best shot I've ever seen, Cooper," Diana had whispered, blood bubbling at her lips. "But they'll never let you prove it. They'll never let you in." Or fulfilling her legacy. Sarah pulled out the worn photograph she kept in her pocket, her 5-person team from Task Force Spectre. 3 dead, 1 permanently disabled, and her. "Lieutenant Cooper?" Major Reynolds's voice startled her. She quickly tucked the photo away, but not before he glimpsed it. "Interesting team photo," he said carefully. "Not from Fort Drum, I'm guessing." "Your record may have been sanitized, Lieutenant, but I've been around long enough to recognize a cover story." He lowered his voice. "Marsh was a friend of mine, before Kandahar. But maybe, just maybe, it was time to break it instead." "Esse bloco ficou bom para você? Posso seguir para o próximo?" The smoke hung heavy across the range, reducing visibility to less than 60%. The wind had shifted, now coming in unpredictable gusts from multiple directions, the kind of conditions that separate the elite from the merely talented. Captain Miller went first. His shot went wide. "God damn it," he hissed, adjusting frantically for his second attempt. The round struck the outer ring, better, but nowhere near competitive. One by one, the shooters struggled. Even Sergeant Diaz, with his extensive Iraq experience, barely managed to hit the target. When Sarah's turn came, Major Reynolds met her eyes. A silent question. She nodded slightly. "Lieutenant Cooper, you're up," he called officially. Sarah stepped to the firing position, all pretense gone. Her movements were now fluid, economical, precise. She settled behind the rifle like it was an extension of her body. "Time starts now," Reynolds announced. 30 seconds. The device calculated the necessary adjustments in seconds. 15 seconds remaining. "Bullseye," he announced, his voice betraying nothing. Captain Miller grabbed the scope. "That's impossible in this smoke." Even Major Reynolds couldn't hide his astonishment. 3 consecutive bullseyes at 2,500 yards in compromised conditions, he announced. "That's unprecedented." His presence here, at what should have been a routine qualification, sent murmurs through the group. "Sir," Major Reynolds saluted sharply, "we weren't expecting you." "Sir, with respect, Lieutenant Cooper's record." Task Force Spectre was whispered about even among Special Operations personnel, a mixed-gender direct action unit that officially didn't exist. "The task force was dissolved after the Kandahar incident," the colonel continued. "Lieutenant Cooper is the only surviving shooter." Colonel Westmoreland's expression hardened. "This wasn't a qualification, gentlemen. It was an assessment of you, not Lieutenant Cooper. Those of you who treated her with respect despite believing she was inexperienced, there may be a place for you. The rest of you have some serious reflecting to do." "The qualification continues," he announced, "but with new parameters." "Is it?" Colonel Westmoreland raised an eyebrow. Lieutenant Cooper set the unofficial American record at 284 miles during Operation Phantom Shield. Today, we're looking to make it official. Show them why you were selected. Captain Miller approached, his earlier antagonism replaced with grudging curiosity. "No one makes this shot, not even you. It's about facing impossible odds and trying anyway." 2 minutes remaining, Major Reynolds called out. Sarah had done everything possible to prepare, but doubt gnawed at her. A 3-mile shot wasn't just unprecedented, it was at the very edge of ballistic possibility. Colonel Westmoreland stepped close, his voice low. "Lieutenant, do you know why I exposed your cover? The Joint Chiefs need irrefutable proof that our long-range capabilities exceed our adversaries. Russia claims a 2.5-mile confirmed kill by their Spetsnaz. China boasts similar capabilities. It's a statement of American military dominance. I've blocked transfers, influenced selection boards, convinced myself it was about standards, not gender. The bullet would need to fly in an arc taller than most buildings. The slightest miscalculation, and she'd miss by hundreds of feet." Colonel Westmoreland stepped back. The assembled shooters fell silent. Sarah placed her cheek against the stock, feeling the cold metal against her skin. Diana's voice echoed in her memory. "When nothing else makes sense, trust the fundamentals. Breathe, focus, squeeze. Complete silence enveloped the range. The smoke had cleared, but the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the Georgia landscape. 3 miles away, the target stood, impossibly distant, impossibly small. Sarah's world narrowed to her breathing and the crosshairs of her scope. Background noise faded away. Her consciousness expanded to encompass every variable: humidity, temperature, barometric pressure, wind speed at multiple distances, the Earth's rotation, even the minute tremors of her own heartbeat. She had made her final calculations, double-checked every variable. There was nothing left but the shot itself. Captain Miller stood absolutely still behind her. Major Reynolds watched through his spotting scope, breath held. Colonel Westmoreland's face betrayed nothing, but his hands were clenched at his sides. Sarah's finger rested lightly on the trigger, not pressing yet, waiting for the perfect moment when all conditions aligned. A single bead of sweat traced its way down her temple. She ignored it. The crosswind at the firing position died down momentarily. Sarah monitored the mirage through her scope, watching for the distant wind indicators she had memorized along the bullet's path. For a brief, fleeting moment, everything aligned. The indicators showed consistent conditions all the way to the target. It wouldn't last more than a second or two. Now, Sarah took a final breath, held it at the precise halfway point, and began the trigger press. Smooth, controlled, deliberate. Time seemed to slow. The pressure increased gradually against her finger. In this suspended moment, Sarah thought of everyone who had told her it was impossible. Every rejection letter, every dismissive comment, every obstacle placed in her path because of her gender. And she thought of Diana, of the promise made, the final micromillimeter of trigger pressure. The hammer fell. The rifle recoiled sharply against Sarah's shoulder. The sound, a thunderous crack, echoed across the silent range. And then, nothing. For 6 eternal seconds, the bullet traveled its arcing path toward the distant target. 6 seconds of absolute stillness. 6 seconds that stretched like hours. Colonel Westmoreland raised his high-powered spotting scope. Major Reynolds held his breath. Captain Miller unclenched his fists. Sarah remained perfectly still, her eyes still at the scope, her body frozen in the firing position. And then, through her scope, she saw it. The impact. Dead center. Hit! Major Reynolds' voice broke the silence, disbelief evident in his tone. Center mass hit at, my God, 4,828 meters. Direct hit confirmed. Repeating, direct hit at target distance 4,028 meters. That's not supposed to be possible. I've been shooting for 20 years, he said quietly. I've never seen anything like that. Not even close. It's about patience, precision, and knowing that sometimes the impossible just needs someone stubborn enough to try. Lieutenant Cooper's shot will be studied in military academies for decades to come. He paused. But the more important lesson isn't about ballistics or world records. I've spent my career believing certain things about who belongs in special operations. Today proved I was wrong. He looked directly at Sarah. I owe you an apology, Lieutenant. We all do. That's why you're being assigned as the lead instructor for the new Joint Special Operations Sniper School, with explicit orders to recruit qualified candidates regardless of gender. For those of you selected to join the training cadre, the colonel addressed the group, understand this. Your previous notions about gender have no place in this unit. The only standard that matters is excellence. Lieutenant Cooper will be your commanding officer. Any questions? She took out the worn photograph of her former team. We did it, Diana, she whispered. We changed things. It's about earning it, one shot at a time. It cares about dedication, skill, and the courage to take the shot when others say it's impossible. If you've enjoyed this true story of American military excellence, hit that subscribe button and join us next week for He Told Her Women Can't Fly Combat. Her response made history.